And you know what time it is? It's time for KP's Video News. KP Video News, y'all. KP Video News, y'all. KP Video News, y'all.
Right, it's time for KP's Video News, y'all. And, yep, coming back with another one. Gotta thank my niece. Thank you for the coffee. Yep, that's the chocolate. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get started right quick. This is a story here that's pretty similar to one that happened in California with the Bruce family that had their land seized by the state of by the city of Manhattan Beach back around the turn of the century. And so it's like, you know, this stuff happened a lot, man. You know, everybody's, you know, got turned on when they started hearing about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but it was a lot of land that was stolen from black people. And this is decades after Missouri doctor and a Missouri town seized this black doctor's home. His relatives are seeking to reclaim his land and his history. And Creve Coeur, at the end of a winding road in Creve Coeur, just west of St. Louis County, a park now bears the name of Dr. Howard P. Venable, the black ophthalmologist who purchased the land and as his own more than 60 years ago. Until this year, the park did not bear his name, but the name of a white mayor who took the property away. In 1956, the year of Voting Rights Act, and 2 years after the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, Venable and his wife Kate bought 2 plots in the Spoiled Meadows area. Several other black families at the time were doing the same. They faced pressure from their new white neighbors and the city of Creve Coeur itself to sell the properties and move. Venable, who was 45 years old when he purchased property in the land, not only went through years of medical training, but was a musician who played with the legends like Duke Ellington. His surviving relatives say he was a man of principle who was not going to back down to a system built to discriminate against him. So while his other black neighbors left, he refused to sell. But eventually, as shown through court documents, news coverage from the time, and stories from the family, Creve Coeur's government, then led by Mayor John T. Byrne, seized the Venable family's land using eminent domain. The city took the portion of the house he started to build and turned it into a clubhouse while turning the rest of the land into a park. Adding insult to injury, the park was named after the crooked mayor. It's terrible how you could love a place and the place doesn't love you. And that's what his nephew, Alan Venable, stated. What happened to the Venable family is not an isolated incident across this country, are slowly beginning to reckon with decades-old seizures of land from black families. On September 30th, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill to return the stretch of Manhattan Beach to descendants of its original owners, William Charles Bruce, who lost the land nearly 100 years ago after the city of Manhattan Beach confiscated the land, also through eminent domain. And Governor Newsom stated he wanted to apologize to the Bruce family for the injustice that was done to them. And Newsom said to sign the bill, and Venable sued the city of Creve Coeur for years trying to hold onto the land he owned. Finally, in 1959, the court ruled against him, citing that the city took his land for public use, a park and clubhouse, and therefore it could not it could take his land. Eventually, Venable and his family moved to Baldwin, another area in St. Louis County, where he raised his family and died in 1998. In September of this year, Creve Coeur renamed the park in Venable's honor more than a half century after it was taken from him. American history includes the history of African Americans. This is an American story, Venable's niece stated, Victoria Venable. At the park's rededication, Creve Coeur Council member Heather Silverman acknowledged that that renaming the park was important, but at the same time, though, not enough. It's important to me that the community understands that we can't just change the name and forget about what happened. If we want a real change, it comes in several ways, and renaming the park doesn't bring that change. And by definition, eminent domain gives government at any level power to take private property and convert it into public use. More specifically, it is the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution that allows government to do this, but only if they provide compensation. The first issue that came to the Supreme Court in 1875 was called Cole versus the United States, in which the city of Cincinnati wanted to acquire a piece of land for a post office and other public uses. In the end, the court ruled that if the community could benefit from economic development, then it qualified as public use. But the Constitution does not define what compensation means. And so a lot of the fights that get attention are about how you value what is just compensation. Many times compensation is not the point. Venable did not necessarily want money. He wanted his land, his house, and his chance to raise his family. In 1959 settlement, he was given $31,000, said Jim Singer, a former St. Louis-based attorney and a member of the task force created to rename the park and take other action to keep Venable's legacy alive. And wow, man, this is crazier beyond crazy. Telling you, I am telling you. Urban renewal. Urban renewal displaced more than 300,000 people in the years between 1955 and 1966, according to a University of Richmond analysis. That is a lot of people, man, that have been displaced. And wow, 1967 was the year they had 159 race riots in cities across the country, and the number of homes destroyed was 400,000 homes destroyed. Wow, man, this is something else, man. So in 2019, that city passed a resolution to formally rename the park and establish a task force. Venable surviving family who was involved in the task force said it was a monumental move, but it could not be how the Uncle's story ended. It gave us a little bit of closure, but we know the story. We've been living it out our whole lives. Venable's niece and Venable Fletcher's sister said, but we don't want it to be a one-off. Wow. Apologies only go so far. If the land is still vacant, because oftentimes the land was taken and then nothing was ever done with it, it ought to be given back to the people it was taken from. And while the story of people like Venable and the Bruces in Manhattan Beach are slowly being brought to light, it said that momentum of this history cannot stop. It has to continue. Now there's widespread recognition that this destroyed well-functioning communities. Wow, that's something, man. That is really, really a sad story, man, and a sad ending. I'm not happy with that ending. They renamed the park after the actual owner of the land, but I'm not really happy with that, man. You know, I'm just not happy with that outcome. Anyway, on with the next story. We have a 44%. That's black Cubans that are homeless in Miami. And it's like, with Hispanic Heritage Month drawing to a close, I want to highlight the voice often overlooked, and unheard in Miami, black Cubans. While I myself, I'm not part of this group. And, so it's like, a lot of people that have like great insight and featuring a few things that could do wonders in forging bonds between all members of the African diaspora. After learning, a learning moment came when the audience member asked whether black Cubans identified with the transatlantic slave trade. I would say as much as African Americans, a guy named Zayas stated. And after a little digging, discovered that Cuba was the largest slave colony in all Hispanic America, with roughly 800,000 Africans trafficked to the Cuban island, according to Harvard University at Hutchins Center for African and African American Research. To put that into context, historians estimate that anywhere between 388 and 450,000 slaves were imported to the United States. And the second surprising aspect of Zay's talk had to do with the relationship between black Cubans and African Americans. With all the infighting that can happen among South Florida's diverse black community, I expected to hear more of the same. I was wrong. We were all the same team, basically, Zay said. We went on to say that by the 1980s, the two had gone their separate ways, in part due to the killing of Arthur McDuffie and other incidents where the police were Cuban and the victims were black. They then shared a common sentiment of black community. Now looking back, I realized that I was lucky that I didn't run into a cop that was having a bad day I was having a bad day myself. One of the goals of this beat has always been to show the commonalities of the black experience. Why? Because liberation requires a collective buy-in. We are part of the same struggle. Sure, our heritage is different, but when it comes to light and to the fight for freedom, we are all on the same team. Our fight becomes a lot easier if we learn this. And what to do with the many homeless encampments scattered across the city of Miami has long been a topic of debate. And the police would be instructed to give written warnings if violators, allow them up to 2 hours to gather their belongings and offer them a shelter bed. If the violator refuses a space or shelter, officers can arrest that person. Under that Miami ordinance, homeless people could be charged with a misdemeanor for creating an illegal encampment on public property, face a $500 fine, like a homeless person got $500, and up to 60 days in jail. Violators could also be given a civil fine from a code compliance officer. And the prospective ban came after a result of complaints from downtown and Little Havana residents, according to the ordinance's sponsor. The homeless issue that they have in Miami is mainly about people that are out there because they want to be out there, Carrillo said. Man, that was a dumb statement. That is the stupidest statement I've heard all day. Like, people just wake up in the morning and just say, oh, I know, I want to be homeless today. Come on, man. You have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Somebody really actually said something that stupid, that people want to be homeless, want to be out there? Come on now. Wow. They're criminalizing being homeless and making it a crime to be homeless. And yeah, it should be a crime, but it should also be an answer. It should also be something done. It should also be some housing. It should also be food. It should also be more places for these people to go. If the people had some place to go, they wouldn't be homeless. Then you have the working poor that are out there that are homeless because they just cannot afford these super high rents any longer. And the rents are steady going up and up and up and up. As long as the property values go up, then you have the greedy landlords that are constantly trying to get money. So they're jacking the rents up, man, till the people just can no longer afford it. This is crazy. This is really crazy, man. Well, let me go on with the next crazy story. Got a teacher that allegedly threatened to shoot school officials after janitors removed a plastic COVID barrier. And a Pennsylvania elementary school teacher has been arrested after allegedly threatening to shoot school district officials because the janitors removed the plastic barrier he had set up in his classroom to protect from the spread of COVID. Chad Jarrett an educator at Sinking Springs Elementary School in York, is charged with one misdemeanor count of terroristic threats. Last Friday, a cafeteria worker said she heard Garrett threaten to shoot all those MFs if the district's administrative officers, the station reported. Garrett also said if he contracted coronavirus, he would come to school and spread COVID to everyone he could. And the police documented what he added. And the police stated that the 50-year-old teacher was upset following a conversation he had with the administrators over the removal of the plastic barrier he erected in the classroom. And Garrett was suspended by the school pending an investigation, and detectives who searched his Manchester Township home seized 2 long guns and a handgun. Meanwhile, the Central York School District stated Garrett's school will operate remote only through Friday because of new coronavirus cases. So, wow, I'm telling you, man, some weird stuff going on. And this one here, this one's gonna be my last story of the day. You got an Alabama Republican's biggest fear. What is it? The empowerment of young black people. That's the Alabama Republicans' biggest fear. And the Alabama State School Board votes to whitewash racial history over teaching truth. This isn't about critical race theory. If you tried to pass a few bar exams, maybe you would know more about critical race theory. But if you're a 7th grader in Alabama, critical race theory is not even on the agenda. No surprises, no deep thinking here. Alabama is going to be a red state, dark shadows of racism. And so the phrase critical race theory has become a catch-all broadly used and critique anti-racism or diversity language in curriculum or teaching training. Alabama's ban is intended to handcuff teachers from having educational discussions with students about race and racial history, about truth. It's all about having control of the narrative. The truth is a problem in Alabama. I've never seen so many people so scared of the truth. The truth will set you free. Don't you want to be free? The bigger question, why shouldn't we tell the truth about American history? Don't sugarcoat it. Don't whitewash the elephant in the room. Give it to us straight. Who can't handle the truth? Alabama lawmakers, of course, no surprise, many of them the same think Trump won the election in 2020 election. State Representative Chris Pringle, a Republican from Mobile, Alabama, was in such a hurry to ban critical race theory, he filed the bill before he even knew what it was. So it's like, wow, man, these people are really going off the deep end, trying to whitewash what you have done. They're trying to whitewash all the nonsense that they've done over the years, over the hundreds of years, over the decades in this country, and trying to just erase it. Just like they whitewashed Cleopatra in the movie Cleopatra, and they put Liz Taylor playing Cleopatra. They whitewashed Cleopatra and made her completely white. They whitewashed Moses, made him a white guy. All these people are living in Africa, in North Africa, but it's like, come on, man. This stuff is just unbelievable. It's not believable to anybody. So now you want to erase your history. You don't want to teach the truth about the atrocities and the hate and the malfeasance that you have spread, not only in this country but all over the world. You know, by dropping atomic bombs on Japan, you know, on women and babies and kids and old people. You know, you said, oh, well, they bombed Pearl Harbor. Okay, they bombed Pearl Harbor, but Pearl Harbor was a military installation. Pearl Harbor had military people there. when you dropped the bomb on Japan, that was civilians, innocent babies and children and women and old people. It's not the same. Japan brought the battle to the military. So if you had to drop a bomb, you should have dropped the bomb on the military installations in Japan, not civilians. That's not how it works. So anyway, hey man, it's KP's Video News, and let me get off of this subject.
And you know what time it is?
Before I get worked up over
KP's
here
Video News
and create my own race theory. KP's Video News, y'all.